So I've seen a lot of tier list videos lately for Marvel Rivals heroes, and today we're going to be doing something slightly different. We are not going to be doing a tier list video. I think tier lists are useful, they're quite interesting, but they're quite one-dimensional. Something that is S tier in a low elo is not necessarily something that's going to be S tier in a high elo. So I wanted to make a video that kind of covers off where the different heroes sit at different ranks, specifically low elo, so bronze, silver, gold, compared to high elo, so diamond, grandmaster, and beyond. And I think you'll find this video very interesting because I've got a lot of data to back this as well. So this is showing the best heroes by the data. A lot of people know about the Marvel Rivals hero hot list, of course, and the last time that this list was updated was at the beginning of January, so that's quite a long time ago now. And we haven't really got the latest data for season 1 at all through this website either. So we can see pick rates and win rates at the different ranks, but that is from season 0. So that's not going to be super helpful for season 1. What is quite useful and interesting is the data that's been collected through this other website, rivalsmeta.com, and I've used data from here to create an analysis on who are the best heroes for each rank. Anyone can go find this website, look at the characters page and do the same sort of thing and go for, say, gold, for Vanguard, what are the win rates, what are the pick rates, right? And you can see that the numbers here are already starting to look slightly different to what we see in the season 0 numbers. So what I've done is I've actually pulled all of the data out of this website and done a bit of analysis on it. So I've pulled it into a spreadsheet and looked at all of the different ranks all the way up to GM+. And I've actually aggregated that data and done a little bit of analysis and produced some reports and charts, and I want to share that with you today so you can see who are the best heroes across the different ranks according to the data. So let's jump right into it, starting with Vanguard. So this is going to be the easiest one to talk about. There are the least number of heroes for Vanguard. What we've got along here is the different ranks along the bottom. So the lowest elo ranks, bronze at the bottom, all the way up to diamond and then GM+. I haven't broken down Celestial and One Above All specifically because there's not actually that much data, especially for those very high ranks like Celestial and One Above All. So I've just grouped up everything above GM and beyond into GM+. And then on the left-hand side of this graph is the win rates. So for Vanguard, they all start pretty high. There's no like terrible Vanguard characters. Well, actually, I'll talk about that in a second, but they all sort of have win rates starting above 45%. And they go up to around about the 55% range. And what we can see here, some very interesting trends. So I wanted to talk about these and then give each of the Vanguards a position on a chart that will help to simplify things as well, similar to a tier list, but in my opinion, better than a tier list. Let's start with Peni Parker. She has got a really good win rate consistently, pretty much all the way through the ranks. It does go up and down a little bit at Platinum and Diamond, but consistently well above 50%, with the exception of in Diamond, where it happens to be Hulk being the superior character in terms of overall win rates. She is objectively pretty much the best. Now, I know you can see a little blip over here to the left where Thor is higher, just in bronze, but I don't really worry too much about bronze. Like, I think if you're still in bronze, you should really just be playing a character that you like to play the most and is the most fun to you and you are the best at, and not worrying too much about tier lists and meta lists. Like, I will get to who I think the best picks are for each of the 3 different classes, but bronze win rates are so skewed by just weird factors and smurfing and all the stuff that goes on that I'm really kind of looking mostly from silver and beyond for this, but I will talk about bronze a little bit as well. Hulk is an interesting one. You can see this trend line starting from really terrible in bronze, or sort of below 50% win rate, all the way up and just climbing all the way to GM+, where he almost becomes as good as Peni Parker. So some interesting stuff going on here. You can kind of see the reverse trend happening for Thor. So Thor is the light blue line here, and you can see in bronze he's really good, and then immediately starts sort of dropping down and sort of hovering at around the sort of 51 to 52% win rate mark. Captain America is quite similar, sort of hovering around that slightly above 50% win rate, and then you've got Strange also hovering around that line. So all very solid picks. Some interesting stuff going on with Groot. So Groot actually starts off kind of bad. He is fairly low and only really starts getting good at GM+, which is interesting to me. So there's a lot of people playing Groot who are not that good at playing as Groot. Now Magneto and Venom, these are really interesting. So you can see they're right down the bottom here. I've seen a lot of really great Magneto players, not a lot of great Venom players. I can understand why Venom's all the way down the bottom here. Magneto surprised me pretty much straight away. He's like the second worst Vanguard in terms of win rates the whole time. But I think if you're comparing between Magneto and Strange, Strange is going to be the better pick pretty much all the time for sort of a shield-based Vanguard. So I've also done some trend lines just to show this trend a little bit more clearly. And this is where you can see the sort of steep learning curve that's required with Hulk. So Hulk starts off really difficult to play as a sort of a newbie player. And his win rate, of course, is because of that quite low. But he's sort of trending to almost be one of the best, if not the best, Vanguard towards the end game or the high elo ranks, which is really interesting. And you can see the opposite for Thor as well, where he's kind of a bit of a noob stomper and sort of has a really high win rate over in bronze, and then sort of ends up being pretty average towards GM+. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to take each of these characters and place them on my tier chart. So this is my version of a tier list, okay? So what I've got along the bottom is bad at high ranks to good at high ranks. So bad on the left, good on the right. And then along the side or the vertical axis, I've got the bad at low ranks to good at low ranks. This is kind of a continuum, who's good at the high ranks versus who's good at the low ranks. And that means it's a little bit more in-depth compared to a standard tier list, where a lot of the people on YouTube are just creating tier lists based on the GM plus or like the meta of the game. And look, 90% of players out there are not playing the meta, right? You're not going to be playing GM plus. You're probably sitting in silver through to plat or maybe diamond. So I think this video is going to be more interesting for you, and this way of presenting the information is going to be more interesting to you as well. So let's have a look at the characters here. Let's start with Peni Parker. So the data showed that she was really good at high ranks and pretty good at low ranks as well. I'm going to put her right here in the great value bucket. So she's good at high ranks, good at low ranks, nothing else really to say there. That's where she sits in terms of the data. Hulk was interesting. So Hulk was obviously really good at high ranks as well, almost as good as Peni, probably the second best Vanguard in the game at GM+, but had terrible win rates at low ranks, so bronze and silver. So he's very clearly down in this bucket here, where he's in the steep learning curve bucket. So he's hard to play, but he's worth it. If you can play him well, you can climb to very high ranks and do well there as well. Next, we're gonna do Venom. So Venom is, I'm going to be honest, one of my personal most hated characters. I'm sorry if you're a Venom main. I just have to say that every time I'm in a game and I'm playing ranked and someone queues up in my team as Venom, I just die a little bit inside. Like, I just don't see any value coming from Venom players in my experience, okay? And the data kind of shows that as well. Now, I'm sure there's a couple of players out there who are like cracked at Venom and just absolutely kill it. He can be a great dive character, but yeah, according to the data, he's down here. And my personal opinion is he deserves to be down here as well. Sorry, guys. Magneto was interesting. This one surprised me, right? So Magneto was kind of close to Venom in the numbers as well. He was not really great at anything. He's just sort of mid. And remember that for Vanguard characters, all of their data has slightly higher win rates on average than something like a Duelist. So these are all like decent characters. None of them are terrible, except Venom. But Magneto, if you had to pick a Vanguard, I probably wouldn't be picking Magneto first. Next will be Groot. So Groot was interesting. He can be pretty good at high elo. So if we just go back to the chart, he sort of comes close to Strange and Captain America in terms of win rates at high elo. But he's kind of low at low elo. So that puts him squarely in the steep learning curve bucket, probably somewhere around here. So Doctor Strange, obviously one of the highest pick rate characters. He's obviously a very good character. Many games at high elos have a Doctor Strange in the game. He's just utility is quite good with the portaling and everything. In terms of win rates, he actually sits sort of around here. Great value, probably not top, absolute top, but great value. And to be honest with you, very good to have a Strange on your team. If you have a good Strange player, they're just a value add to the whole team because you've got a big ass shield that just keeps the whole team safe as well. And the portaling. Then we have Thor. Thor was very clearly in the noob stomper category. He has the highest win rate at bronze somehow, and then it sort of tracks down a little bit all the way towards GM plus, where he sort of sits somewhere in the middle. So that puts him, I want to put him here, but actually if I look at the numbers a little bit more closely, he's very, very close to Strange in terms of high elo, so he actually kind of goes about here. So he feels like a noob stomper character to me, but he's actually good. He's actually pretty good. Captain America is quite similar to Thor. Probably just starts to get better and better at high elo. So he does overtake Thor at high elo, but a little worse at low elo. So that probably actually makes him, if I move Thor slightly, it probably makes him about here. A little better than Strange at very high elos, interestingly. So that's what we've got for Vanguard so far. Now at the end of this video, I'm going to be recapping who I think my top picks are for each of the categories. But I think you should be starting to think to yourself now, okay, like who do I play? Where do they sit in here? And are they going to be a character that I want to keep playing going forward? So if you're sitting in something like gold, you kind of have a choice to make. If you're a Vanguard player, you're sitting in gold and you're playing Groot, okay? Good for you. You've made it to gold. You're not a bad Groot player, but you need to be thinking, am I going to get the most value out of Groot here? Like, should I be thinking, yep, I want to commit to Groot. I want to become an awesome Groot player. I think I have what it takes to be better than 50% of the players in Diamond, Plat and Diamond and the next ranks that I'm going for and just absolutely crush it as Groot? Or is it going to be easier for me to switch to Hulk or Peni Parker, learn those characters and just absolutely stomp? So that is a decision you need to make for yourself. And don't forget to have fun as well. So don't just play a character because you think it's going to help you win. You got to be having fun playing that character as well. Don't forget, it's just a video game. Okay, next is Strategists. Strategists are quite clear-cut. It's very clear what's going on here. You can see that this season, Rocket Raccoon is absolutely crushing it all the way through. So pretty much from bronze, I mean, technically Mantis is better in bronze, but I said earlier in the video, don't really worry too much about bronze. There's so much weird stuff going on in the bronze ranks that it doesn't tell you that much. But from silver and beyond, Rocket Raccoon just absolutely crushes it. Clearly by far the highest win rate on Strategist. The interesting one I want to point out here before I go into where these sit in terms of my chart is probably Loki. Loki is a little harder to learn, right? So his win rate in bronze is still good. It's still above 50%, but it's significantly lower than where he sits in all the other ranks. So he's a little bit harder to learn, but people who get him to silver are pretty much set. So if you can get Loki good enough that you get up to silver, you're going to be set. Like, he's also one of the best strategists in the game. Just to call out that Loki's healing is probably not the highest healing output of all, and that might be why in bronze especially, where people don't play good team makeups and you have like 5 DPS and 1 healer and things like that, you're going to have Loki as a lower win rate because he just can't put out quite enough healing output to support those weird team compositions like that. You really need like a Mantis or a Rocket Raccoon, a Lunar Snow, or a Cloak and Dagger on your team to give that massive healing output that you need. And then we've got Jeff. Jeff. Why are people still playing Jeff? Please tell me. He's terrible. He's the worst strategist by a long country mile. Look at this line. You only really start getting any value out of Jeff at GM, and even then he's the worst strategist. Just please stop. And I'm sorry, he's cute. I think he's a fun character. He can wipe the whole team in one go, which is awesome, but just stop, please. All right, so let's place these characters down in terms of whether they're good at low and high ranks, and where does that make them sit overall. So Rocket Raccoon, this is easy, great value. He's good at high ranks, good at low ranks, nothing else to say there. Let's do Cloak and Dagger. This one might be controversial. So Cloak and Dagger is one of the highest pick rates at the moment in the game. A lot of people liking to play Cloak and Dagger. I like to play Cloak and Dagger. But when you look at the data, I'm sorry. Cloak and Dagger is a noob stomper. Cloak and Dagger's win rate at most elos is meh. It's meh. It's like 48% most of the time. That puts her in the sort of like meh category. I think there's better characters out there. We'll get to that. Invisible Woman, really fun character, got introduced this season. Not bad, definitely not bad, but at high elos, the data's showing just currently at the moment, not great either. It's just okay. In terms of where she sits in terms of the data, it's roughly about here. Similar to Cloak and Dagger, maybe slightly worse at high elos. Jeff the Shark. I'm sorry, not worth it. Please don't play him. Loki, I kind of talked about this a little. He's actually great value. So Loki is good at both high and low ranks, but takes a slight bit of learning curve. So if you're in bronze and you're thinking about which character do I start first, probably not Loki. It's probably Rocket Raccoon or Mantis or one of the others. He's not super straightforward to play, but he can be absolutely awesome. So Mantis is also awesome, especially at low ranks. She is one of the best strategists in the game. She is the best strategist in the game at very low elos, and also carries and holds her own all the way up to GM+. Then we've got Luna Snow. Luna Snow is an interesting one. You might not think this, but Luna Snow sits somewhere in the middle and more closer to steep learning curve. So let me go back to the data to show you why. This is why. So Luna Snow is the light blue line here. Now, you might think, oh yeah, Luna Snow, she's easy to play. Like when my DPS main gets taken, I play Luna Snow because, you know, we need a strategist on the team and she's easy to play and I don't really think about it and I just spam heal bot the whole time. Wrong decision, okay? If you're in low elos and Luna Snow is your like one strategist that you know how to play, just stop. And she's not the best. You're better to be playing Rocket, Mantis, Loki, Adam Warlock, any of these other ones. They're better. Their win rate's just better. Now, I understand that with Luna Snow and Cloak and Dagger, these are the two probably most healing output strategists in the game. And you probably will still do well if you have a Luna Snow or Cloak and Dagger on your team. But with that secondary strategist, you're going to get a lot more value out of the other ones, these ones over here, right? So Luna Snow is good to have if your team is just not getting enough healing. You just, no matter how much healing output you're doing as Mantis or as Rocket, it's just not enough and your team's getting smashed every time you go in for a fight. Sure, switch to Luna Snow. But overall win rate, she's just okay. What's interesting is she gets really good in Diamond and GM+. So she actually comes up above Cloak and Dagger and Invisible Woman and becomes like one of the better healers in the game. So I think that's because players at that level really know when to use the ult. A lot of players at low levels screw up using the ult. They just pop it as soon as they're getting pressured by a dive DPS or something like that, and they just pop the ult and then they've wasted it. So if you're not very confident with Luna Snow and when to pop her ult, don't play her. And lastly, we've got Adam Warlock. Great synergy with Mantis, of course, and just overall great value. Can actually do decent damage output as well. And according to the data, just pretty solid pick all around. Okay, so here's Duelists. Now, this chart is a bit of spaghetti, and it's a really difficult one to see what's exactly going on here. So I've actually broken this down into melee versus ranged duelist. So that just cleans things up a little bit, makes it easier to see what's going on. Let's start with melee duelists. This one's super interesting to me. Apart from bronze, where everyone just sucks at the game, silver and beyond, almost every melee duelist is above 50% win rate. 4 out of 5 melee duelists, 50% win rate almost the whole time. There's a little blip here, but other than that, they're awesome. And if you compare that to range, which we'll go through in a second, overall, they outperform. So you're better actually as a duelist. If you want to do good damage output and get picks, you're better to go melee. The data shows it. I'm telling you right now, you heard it here, go melee. And I think it's because like a lot of the other classes as well have really good ranged output. You've got like Peni Parker as a Vanguard who can do decent ranged output. You've got Mantis, you've got Cloak and Dagger, you've got Adam Warlock. These are all great range outputs for damage, even though they're not technically damage-focused roles. And I think you get a lot of value out of being a melee character, diving at the backline, taking out the enemy team's healers, and then running back to your team for some heals. That is the way to play the game, and that is what helps you win almost all the time. So melee characters absolutely slap in this game. But who's the best? So let's talk about that right now. I'm going to place the characters down in the right buckets as well. So first of all, we got Wolverine. Now Wolverine, if we look at the chart again, Wolverine absolutely slaps at GM+. He's the best character at GM+ in terms of Duelist. But it takes a while for him to get there. So in Diamond, he's second best and sort of hovers around the middle the rest of the time as well. So he's pretty good, but he takes a bit of a learning curve to get to that level. So I'm going to put him squarely down in high rank, steep learning curve. Can be awesome, takes a while to learn properly. So think about him as an option. Magik, awesome character. Awesome character, Magik. So sits in the great value bucket. If you look at the data, it's this sort of brown line at the top. She just slaps. She's just well above the other heroes most of the time. Okay, maybe bronze is a little different because people don't know how to play her, but silver and beyond, just awesome. And almost as good as Wolverine at GM+. Like, it's pretty much the same number. So definitely one of the best ones out there. Spider-Man. Okay, there's one particular YouTuber who we don't need a name, who loves to play Spider-Man, and people love to watch his videos, but I'm sorry, Spider-Man's not worth it. Look at the data, okay? I'm not making this up. Look at this red line here. Look how many points away Spider-Man is from all of the other melee heroes. You've got these awesome 4 heroes here, and then Spider-Man. Like, I'm sorry, he's just bad. Iron Fist. Iron Fist is a bit of an interesting one. So if you look at this brown line here, sort of doing some weird things. Weirdly, Iron Fist is really good at plat, and then drops again at diamond. Now, those of you who've played high elos know that at diamond rank, Iron Fist starts getting banned. All right, so at diamond rank, you start banning characters, and Iron Fist sometimes gets target banned. Maybe that's got something to do with it here, but yeah, he sort of hovers sort of middle of the road most of the time, especially bad in bronze. Like, it's hard to play him in bronze, but from silver and beyond, sort of mid to low compared to the melee characters. So I'm going to put him here. So he's okay. He's sort of in the middle of the road. Probably slightly worse at low ranks than he needs to be. People don't know how to play him. Mr. Fantastic's an interesting one as well. So that is this blue line. Weirdly, he stomps in bronze, and then he sucks in silver. I find this really interesting. I think people just don't know how to shoot in bronze, and they just miss all their shots at him because he sort of runs everywhere and uses that like thing where he sort of goes all big and like, you know, repels all the bullets and then pops them back. I think people know how to deal with that, and they keep charging him up by shooting at him when he does that, and I think that's why he's good in bronze. He sucks in silver. I think people just know to just stun him and then wipe him out. Like, people just know how to play against him. In gold, he starts to get better. I think people who play him suck in silver, and then they start to learn like how to actually play him from gold. So yeah, anyway, he's sort of an interesting one. I think I'm going to put him around about here, just based on sort of the average of where his curve sits. He's sort of middle of the road. There's an argument for putting him up in Noob Stomper just based on the bronze starter, but I kind of don't really care about bronze. Sorry, guys. Like, if you're in bronze, like, just play the character that's the most fun to you. You'll probably like just enjoy it. You'll eventually rank up to silver, and then you need to think about who you're playing in silver. So yeah, I'm gonna put him there. Steep learning curve. He can be okay at high elos, as you can see, like roughly around the same as Black Panther at GM+. Last but not least, Black Panther. He's great. He's really good. He's a great dive character, probably one of the best. The data shows he's not quite as good as Magik, right? So black line here, he's great. Like, he sits like number 2 or number 3 pretty much the whole time, but not quite as good as Magik. Like, there's a significant difference. Okay, so ranged duelists. This is still a bit of a spaghetti chart, but I can't make it any simpler than this. So bear with me. I'm going to go through this in detail. The thing you're going to notice the most here, Storm. Oh my God. what is going on with Storm. If Storm does not get a nerf in the next season, I will close my YouTube channel. Look at this line. What is going on here? Her win rate almost never drops beyond 55%. Like, it's one of the highest in the whole game. And it's hugely different from anyone below her. It's just crazy. What I want to point out quickly in this chart before we talk any further though, is that this number on the left starts at 40%, okay? So because there's characters in ranged duelists that are so bad, what's going on with this red line? But compare it to melee, okay? Melee starts at 40% and all the lines are up here. Let's go back to ranged. Most of the lines are down here. So again, I just want to say one more time in case you didn't get it crystal clear, most of the time playing a melee duelist character is going to give you a better win rate than playing a ranged character. Except for Storm, who's just cracked. Okay? Now that we've cleared that up, if you really still want to play a ranged duelist character, first of all, play Storm. And then secondly, this is a little bit of a spaghetti. I'm going to go through and place them on the chart and we'll talk about it. Storm, right there. Already talked about it. She's awesome. She's definitely going to get a nerf. Iron Man, steep learning curve. But he's good. He's good. So let's look at the chart again. The red line's Iron Man. Bronze and silver, below 50% win rate. Not that great, okay? But from gold, oh my God, he slaps in gold. And I think people know about the team up with Iron Man, right? So there's the Hulk Iron Man team up. It powers up Iron Man a lot. It's absolutely worthwhile. So if you have a Hulk on your team, it's kind of a no-brainer. Pick Iron Man, right? If you're a ranged duelist player. Otherwise, pick Storm, okay? In fact, just probably pick Storm anyway because she's awesome. But I don't know, if she gets banned or something, then you're picking Iron Man with Hulk. Psylocke's also really good. And I would argue that Psylocke is a better solo queue player than Iron Man because this purple line is Psylocke, okay? And she's so close to Iron Man from plat and above, but she's actually better than Iron Man in low elos. So you can absolutely solo carry with Psylocke all the way through the game. So that makes her a bit better at low ranks and probably similar to, maybe slightly below Iron Man at high rank. Hawkeye. Hawkeye is one of the worst duelists in the game. I need to show you this for you to believe it. He's this purple line here, the sort of lilac, light purple line, okay? The data speaks for itself, okay? Let's take out the subjectivity of this discussion. He's bad. He's bad. Look at Diamond, the worst character in the game. So I'm sorry, like, you might get a one-shot headshot sometimes, but he's not worth it. He's really not worth it, like, by a lot. Same with Black Widow. Look at this red line. Worse than Hawkeye from bronze and silver. Oh my God, gold. What has happened with the Black Widows in gold? If you're playing in gold and you're a Black Widow, you statistically are going to take longer than any other character in the game to rank up to plat. So if you're stuck in gold and you're playing Black Widow, you need to be taking a look at yourself in the mirror and thinking, why don't I play one of these other OP characters? Why don't I switch to Storm? Why don't I switch to Iron Man, Psylocke? Just think about it. So Black Widow's down here. Bad. Squirrel Girl. Interesting. I've seen a few tier lists where some people have said that they like Squirrel Girl and think she's like underrated or like actually OP. Statistically, not really. Like, I don't quite understand that. I think she's annoying and her ult's annoying if you're a strategist, but statistically, she's actually kind of one of the worst characters. Like, just look at this brown line here, okay? Kind of gets slightly better in GM+, but like going down all the way from bronze to diamond. So it actually puts her, just in terms of the data, like in the not worth it bucket. Star-Lord, Star-Lord's really good. Star-Lord can be really amazing. The problem is a lot of people who just aren't that good at aiming play Star-Lord, and that means that in low elos, he's like pretty mid. So this is the line here. It's a little difficult to see, but it actually, he comes up to the level of Psylocke, almost bang on with the same win rate as Psylocke in GM+, and pretty good in Diamond as well. Plat and below, like not really worth playing unless you're awesome and your aim is like cooked. So he's kind of steep learning curve. I'm putting him down here. Namor. Namor gets played a lot at GM+, but if you look at the data, this one's quite interesting. So he is this green color. He's like good, like he's better at GM+ than Punisher, Winter Soldier, etc. Close to Hela, and you know, Hela gets target banned a lot, so obviously people who like to play Hela might switch to Namor, but he's sort of not as good as everyone thinks he is. Like, I think he gets played more than he is good. Star-Lord and Psylocke are better, but don't get played maybe as much. Actually, let's check that. The pick rate for Namor is 16% now. And then Star-Lord, 10%. Hela, 8%. Now, I know there's some target banning going on, but Psylocke, 14%. Namor, 16%. Yeah, I just think he's slightly overplayed. I understand there's a team up with Lunar Snow, so if you have a good, you know, Lunar Snow support in your team, you might be thinking, yeah, let's go with Namor, but like, I think he's just a little bit overrated. So Namor is going here. Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier's a good character. So he's really good all the way up until GM+, and then he sucks. So that puts him here. Like, great value, but also like arguably close to Noob Stomper. But I'm gonna put him here. I think he's still good value, and you can kind of see, like, just relative to the rest of what's going on here, like, it's a tricky one because he's decent at Diamond, like he's number 4, sorry, at Diamond, and then like suddenly gets a lot worse at GM+. It's a tricky one. I think he's sort of somewhere in the middle. Like, he's kind of like there, actually. Almost great value, but maybe don't pick him all of the time. The Punisher. Punisher's unfortunately just not as good as Winter Soldier. A lot of people like to play Punisher. I know he's got the team up with Rocket, and Rocket's really good this season, but look, he's consistently a bit below Winter Soldier. At GM+, he is just as good, but anything below that, really not as good. In Bronze, he sucks. That makes him kind of steep learning curve and kind of like down here. I mean, if we said that Winter Soldier's kind of there in terms of high ranks, then he's about the same. So about there. Hela. Hela was crazy good last season. She got a little bit of a nerf, and a lot of people said, oh, it doesn't matter, she's still amazing. I kind of get it, because at GM+, she's still really good. Probably not quite as good as some of the others. There's better options, but she's still really good. From gold to diamond, yeah, not really that good. A lot of people still like to play her because they think she was good last season. They've got that bias, but she's just statistically not as good. She's still good in silver, but yeah, once people start, you know, having better target selection, she's not that great. Like, she's just okay. I'm gonna put her in Noob Stomper, like just on the edge of Noob Stomper, maybe close to great value, but not as great value as these others. Scarlet Witch. So Wanda is not worth it. I think most people know this. It's probably not controversial, but Wanda's this dark red line. In Plat, she kind of comes up a bit, which is interesting, but overall, you know, like the win rates are on the lower end, lower quartile. She's going in not worth it. Now, Moon Knight is interesting. There's a lot of people still playing Moon Knight all the way up to GM. It's interesting. Moon Knight's this grey line. Look where Moon Knight is in GM. What is going on? I think people just see a Moon Knight, they've been too scared by the moon haunts you, like the rest of the game, and they just instantly want to kill him. I think they just target Moon Knight so hard that in GM he just gets wrecked. You know what? He's not really that decent. Statistically, he's not that good in silver. Okay, so we got to put him down here just by the numbers. That's what this video is about. He's over here. Okay, so we've got to that point in the video where I've gone through all the data. Now I want to talk about who are my recommended heroes for each class. So if you've skipped to the end of the video, shame on you, go watch it again. But here it is. Here's my recommended picks based on the data for each class. So for Vanguard, Peni Parker, no debate. Peni Parker is my top pick for Vanguard, and I think it's clear why. Second is actually gonna maybe be a surprise to some people. You might be thinking I'm saying second is Hulk, or Cap, or Thor. No, Doctor Strange. I think if you don't know how to play Doctor Strange and you're a Vanguard, you need to learn him. I think you just need to learn him. There's times in the game, especially at higher ranks, where you just need a Strange. You just need the portal, or you just need a big ass shield because everyone else is a dive character. Like, you sometimes just need a Strange. So my top picks are Peni, learn Peni first, then learn Strange, then learn one of either Hulk or Thor. Or Cap. Look, if you really like playing Cap, you can learn him too. But Hulk or Thor would be my next picks. Thor can be awesome, especially at low elos. And Hulk can also be awesome, but it's a much steeper learning curve. If you're a casual player, probably not worth you learning Hulk. He's good in sort of gold and above. But if you're sort of hovering around that mid to high elo and you're thinking of picking up another tank, then probably pick Hulk. So Strategists, my top picks, shouldn't be very controversial here. Number 1, Rocket Raccoon. Number 2, Mantis. Should be obvious why. Then, once you've learned both Rocket and Mantis, then learn Loki. Loki can be a good third pick for a strategist. He's just got a lot of utility and can sneak around and pop those little poles down, and he has a good win rate. I think he's a little harder to learn than some of the other characters, and I think he can be played ineffectively if you're not careful, and his playstyle is quite different to the other strategists, so probably learn him third. For Duelists, number 1, learn Storm. Storm is absolutely cooked this season. So learn Storm, she's the best. Second, Magik. Just by pure win rate alone, if you're not learning Magik and you like to play Duelist a lot, you're not helping your team. You need to play Magik. Then, our buddy Wolverine. So Wolverine should be after learning Magik, but if you're especially at high elos, if you're sort of in plat and you're thinking ahead to like Diamond and GM+, and you like to play Magik and other melee characters, learn Wolverine, because he's so good at GM+. I think you just have to know him. So for Duelist, it's Storm, Magik, and then Wolverine. So that's it for my top picks of the best heroes in Marvel Rivals according to the data in Season 1. If you like this video, please subscribe. I'm close to 1,000 subscribers, which would be a huge milestone for me. I'm a small channel, and if you drop a like as well, that will be greatly appreciated. And I'll see you in the next video.